Uh, the now usual dancing intro. So yeah, how is everybody getting on? We are back again. This is episode 9 of the 3rd season this year of the Goose podcast. We have actually a double header today. We're recording again tonight, a little squad pod with the boys of the podcast. And today with me, I have got Stephen O'Sullivan, who is one of the founders or the main founder of I Left You a Note. Steve, what the hell is Left You a Note? Obviously, actually, do you know what? Let's go back a second. Introduce yourself.
Hey John, thanks a bit. I think you just did. So my name is Stephen O'Sullivan. I'm the founder of ileftyournote.com. And I guess in 2 words, it's kind of reputation management. So we help hotels and restaurants to get private and actionable feedback. And then the thing being that they can get more private feedback, they can provide a better service, they get more revenue, also they get more public feedback on the online reviews, and again, they get better revenue. So if you boil it down and distill it, I suppose we make hotels and restaurants make more money. That's it in a nutshell.
I mean, like, that makes a lot of sense. I definitely see it a lot online lately. I think a lot of hotels, because booking.com are so expensive, a lot of hotels are obviously trying to direct people back into their own websites for booking management, all this kind of jazz. And I think reputation plays a major part here. So I suppose if you could talk to me a bit about like your own history in the hospitality kind of sector, what kind of, how does this review process normally work, and how you're planning on, shaking that tree a little bit, I suppose, is the best way to take that.
Cool. Yeah, I'll give it a lash. So I guess you're right. Everyone looks at the online reviews. The hotels and restaurants, they're kind of trying to shift people away from bookings.com or the online platforms, because obviously they take a slice out of their revenue. So I guess to put it into context, if you go into your local restaurant and you get let's say you get fish and chips, whatever it is, and solid choice. Yeah. Sorry to all the vegans and vegetarians. So you get your plate, everything's grand, except maybe the plate of chips is a bit small. So by and large, if you're like me, you're not going to kick up a fuss. You're not going to send it back. You're not going to complain. You'll kind of walk out the door, and you might say to yourself, "Well, feck it, I'm not going back there again." And that's it's a small little gap in communication. You're going out the door. The restaurant or the hotel doesn't even know, but let's say you went there 4 times a year with your family, that might be 200 quid in lost revenue over 12 months before you come back again. Yes. So the restaurant is just lost that. They don't even know it. They don't know why. It's that kind of, from speaking to restaurateurs, it's the silent loss of footfall, and they can't explain it, which is really, really frustrating. So I guess you're right. So the way we do it is very simple: QR code or an NFC code on the table, or both. The customer sitting down gives a little scan, and like our kind of zing line is 30 seconds, no more, no less. You scan it, it opens up a very simple form, which is tell us one thing we could be doing better, and there's so much thought went into that in the background, but I won't go into that right now. But so one thing you could be doing better, and then there's an NPS score so 1 to 10, how likely you to refer us to a friend or relative. So then the restaurant owner gets that straight away. They know what's going on. They can get a feel for it, as opposed to waiting until maybe the poop hits the fan on TripAdvisor or Google. And I guess what we're finding is that if you're really pissed off when you leave a restaurant or a hotel, or if you're really happy, you might go on to TripAdvisor or Google and leave a review. And that's where you get kind of, it's fun to watch. You get both ends of the spectrum. It's like reading the journal comments, and but it's the real meat and the value is like,
it's such a beautifully Irish thing of, I didn't enjoy this, but are you going to complain? Why would I fucking do that? I'm not doing that. Jesus, no, I'm not going. Why would I? No. I'm just not going back. I'm just not going back there.
Yeah, it was grand. Yeah, was everything okay? Yeah, it was grand.
It's that hair. It's like that haircut thing. The guy comes up with the mirror on the back, and you're like, "Yeah, it's fine." Well, what the fuck am I supposed to do about it now? You've already done it.
Can you put it back?
I think it's a beautifully Irish thing of that. Like, I'm not going to complain unless I'm absolutely off the charts livid. And I think there's this kind of cultural thing of people will tend to only leave reviews when it's super negative, or super, super positive. Like
Yeah.
you get a very small portion of people when it's like, this was the best hotel I've ever stayed in, and they'll leave that review. Or there was rats in my bedroom,
Yeah.
and the review, and everything in the middle is just like, and gone.
That's true,
Yeah,
and that's where the value is. Like all the insights and wisdom in that, like 90% of people who are neither really extremely one way or the other, they've got all the value you need. Like, you know, the small little things, the portion of chips was too small, or the salad was dry, or there was no salad dressing, whatever it is.
yeah,
That just disappears, but it plants its seed in the customer's mind, and you know, they vote with their feet more often than not.
exactly.
It's kind of shocking. But yeah, so the restaurants is kind of the main location of it so far. We're building a bigger version for hotels, which is like a nerd. It's quite exciting because I guess
Yeah,
it's a much bigger audience. It's a huge dashboard. So, for example, we're kind of on the hotel side. You're very much looking at in-stay feedback, because there's a lot of other platforms out there that look at, you know, you get your 48,000 line survey when you check out, and you know,
don't even get
you
me
just
started about those.
I know what's the fucking point. Sorry, I should swear, but yeah, so, you know,
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'd swear if I had to fill one of those things in, that'd be my main comment. But you know, they're good, but they're after the fact.
Yeah,
And you know, if people fill them in, they can be quite useful. And speaking to a lot of the hotel GMs, they do get some good feedback from those, and they do get some good feedback from the public stuff. But they're missing a big chunk of, you know, something happens during a guest stay in the hotel. Um, a lot of times there's no way to communicate that without that feeling of having a confrontation, you know. So let's say you're you're in your hotel room and you're missing a pillow, or you know, it's too warm. If you're like me or 99% of other people, you're not going to pick up the phone and ring the front desk and, you know, berate somebody or have a confrontation. As pleasant as a confrontation can be, it kind of just messes up your holiday or your business trip, whatever it is. So
yeah.
it's
It's a thing. It's definitely a thing. The only person I know who's a mass complainer, and this is my mother's now. Every episode she gets a shout out in some way,
I know.
shape, and she is literally the demon when it comes to customer service. I remember, like, when I worked in Carrefour Warehouse, I got moved into one of the bigger stores. My man walked in, you know, say hello or whatever, and the whole shop floor fucking legged it into the back office. I was like, what's going on here? They're like, see the tiny blonde lady? I'm not. No. I was like, you mean my mother? They're like, oh, fuck, that's your mom. They're like, look up on the system. So what happens was in the car phone system was every like 7 customers would get a text message for their like customer feedback. Well, didn't she go in? Didn't she go in and go in hard? Now, this is after her going in hard in the shop over whatever had happened.
Oh no.
So what happened was she had bought us all phones a couple of years prior when we were younger for Christmas. 2 of them didn't work out of the box, so she went in all guns blazing. She wouldn't be shy for the complaints, but it was just very funny because it was like, I can guarantee you she wasn't, because I had worked Stevens' Day plenty of times, and I know how many people came in mad, and of that I was like, yeah, but she was probably one of 10 people that day who was pissed off at you, you in particular.
But they remembered.
It's just very, very funny because I think you get those different. It's that personality factor of some people will complain, like, because it's like, I'm not happy. You need to know whether you can fix it or not. That's not, you know, whatever. But you need to know that this service wasn't up to scratch. You need to know that, hold on a second, your AC in all your hotel rooms is broken and it's actually like a sauna in there. Why is there no towels? Did you forget to swap them out when you were cleaning the rooms? Joe, there's such a list of things. And like, you've stayed in hotels, I've stayed in hotels. And 99% of the time, it's tick the box business as usual. It's a grand stay. And that's what you're looking for. But it's when they go that little bit extra or when they go that little bit below, that they want the feedback to know how to give their customers the best.
Or both. Yeah, that's a disappointment, because if you have a hotel and you've got a guest in there and they have an issue and something's gone wrong, and they walk out the door without communicating it, they're not coming back. They're going to tell people. They might even leave a stinker of a review, depending on how they feel about that sort of thing. But some very interesting research that if you've got a guest that comes in and has an issue, like say it's too warm, or say there's the doors creaking, whatever it is, and if they communicate that to the hotel, and if they fix it while the guest is staying, it's unbelievable how they transform from being someone that's mildly disgruntled to being like super gruntled, or whatever the word is. They'll go out and they'll
Pissed.
promote
We
the,
could
the,
just
the
we could
hotel.
just go with pissed.
But they'll go out and promote you. They'll give you the positive reviews. They'll tell their friends. They'll come back. And for a tiny thing, and for fixing something that you've actually done wrong, it's such a return on whatever little effort you spend fixing it. So
I think it's a thing of, I think people appreciate, I think there's, especially over the last 2 years, I think there's been this kind of push towards authenticity. And that kind of real experience, because like, if we're going to be bluntly honest, the price of a hotel in Ireland, of a night stay in Ireland, is a little bit excessive these days. So like, that kind of thing of, you rang to the reception, went, by the way, I could do, I need towels, and I said, oh, Vanessa was lovely, or Mark was lovely,
yeah.
I was sitting on the bowl, and then realized I have no towels, so. They sent someone right up to leave a few at the door, and really, thanks, appreciated that.
It's the personal touch, isn't it? I mean, as you say, you're paying more and more, and the guests are getting more and more discerning and expecting more and more as well, and rightly so,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no room for fucking up and giving anything below excellent service
effort,
now.
And
if you're not providing it in some shape or form, you really you need to know about it before everyone knows about it.
Well, that's it. Especially, I think as well, in the age of like social media, you get someone with a bit of a platform, and now it's a problem.
Yes, yeah,
and vice versa. Like, just because someone has a platform doesn't mean that they're the be all and end all. But at the same stage, you want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. So just to kind of go back up a second. Like, so I left like previously you would have had like a notepad in a hotel room, or there's a leaflet in the menu that they normally leave. It was like, would you like to leave us any feedback? How does your process kind of go from that to, where I left you a note comes in, and kind of, do we see that people actually leave more reviews? And basically, how the hell does this work? I'm in a hotel room. I'm like, now where do I go? What happens?
Cool. Yeah, good question. Let's bring it down to brass tacks. So you're in the hotel room. You'd be familiar with what they call the guest directory. This fucking stack of papers. I don't know. Have you ever read those? I've kind of flicked through them.
I've seen them, but I'm never reading them.
The biggest waste of paper, and sorry, I shouldn't say. Some people I'm sure love them, but they are a fucking waste of paper. So instead of those, you've got one little QR code, maybe on a little plastic tent, and it'll say, feedback, Wi-Fi, guest directory, whatever. It's all here. Your one path to Nirvana. So if you scan that, then the first thing you see will be that form for the feedback. So straight away when something goes wrong, this is my place, this is my avenue. But you'll also have things like your restaurant menus. You'll have your what you call it, your hotel facilities. You can even book your time in the spa, whatever it is. It's all accessed through the QR, through the NFC. But then let's say you have an issue. So let's say you're short a towel. So in that form, you just say no towels. You can just hit send. That's it, and straight away then. So the front desk, it's like the fucking bat phone ringing. So they're sitting down. They'll get a big ping coming up on the screen. The duty manager will also get a ping coming up saying, "Oh, super urgent, room 202. No towels, or whatever it is," and they can fix that almost, well, depending on how many other people have no towels. Maybe there's no towels in the whole hotel, but they can fix that then pretty much instantly. And then the front desk will put a note to say this has been done and dusted, and that's kind of it. You get your towel. You don't have to break the kind of the paper wall, or it's like you don't have to engage in the opposite of diplomacy, whatever that is. You've just done it quietly and remotely and passively, and you've got your towel. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
And then I suppose there's another kind of, well, I was building this at the start. I thought, well, this is great. It's fixing a gap there. And then I realized that we've got all this extra data now, because you're getting so much more feedback. You're getting so much more of a feel as to how the guest is getting on, customer sentiment. That NPS score is always there. So I'm a bit of a nerd. My background is in the world of actuary. I'll go into that in a second if you like. But all that data is absolute gold. And I mean, I suppose back to the first example of a customer walking out the door and then never coming back with that little bit of information as to what went wrong. It's expensive, but the amount of data that the hotels and restaurants now have about their customer happiness at such a granular level. So we started building some pretty cool data analytics on that. So you can kind of identify
you just said a magic word that I enjoy. Data analytics.
Steady on.
I might need to lie down after this chat.
I'm speaking to the right audience here anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, very much so.
So you can really like delve into that, pull it apart, and kind of identify correlations between. So you could say, well, on such and such a date, we had Chef John working in the restaurant, and everyone was really happy. We got an NPS score of an average of 9.5. And then on the next date, we'd Chef Stephen on, and we got a score of 7. Let's figure out what's going on there. Or you could have even your specials on one day versus specials on another day. Another one, I suppose, a very blunt example would be, it's coming into winter. You've got 200 rooms. Let's fucking cut the heating on 100 of those, and let's see if there's any impact of guest satisfaction in the 100 warm and the 100 cold. And if there's no difference, then you kind of go, well, geez, we're spending so many thousands on heating. We probably are overcooking it here. No pun intended.
And you do their own heating according to their standards and this, that, and the other, and try. That's it. I even know that swimming pools are super fucking expensive. I think I remember talking to Jim that I'm in before, and they were saying it's like before they do anything else, it's $10,000 a year just to heat the pool to the temperature that they want it at. That's just that cost is $10,000 a year just for the, we've been in plenty of hotel pools down the years. They're not the warmest places in the world, but it's still $10,000 to get it to that length, that heat. You're like, oh Jesus, okay.
That's it. And 1 degree of a difference could be another $3,000 or $4,000 each way. Yeah. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. Now, I want to ask a couple of questions because you mentioned QR codes. I think a lot of people either kind of don't know what a QR code is, or if they do know them, they know them either from this was where my menu went during COVID to this little sticky tab picture of boxes on a table, or more recently in the last couple of weeks, these newfangled scams with QR stickers. So I suppose I kind of want to get into like, what is a QR code? What are they kind of used for? I mean, I think like they're really fucking flexible, but from someone who knows this is going to understand QR codes better than me, take it away, Steve. Talk to me about QR boxes.
If I can lift the veil with a very simple, I suppose, one-liner, all a QR code does is it saves you from writing in www.ileftyournote.com/restaurants. It'll save you writing that into your phone by just putting it into your browser. That's in a nutshell. That's all it is. But it does have this kind of air of mystery. And yeah, I'm sure you've probably seen the same viral videos about, I think there's people in a car park and someone had stuck a sticker on, and instead of paying the car park, you're paying somebody else. Yeah. So that's the kind of publicity that doesn't help. No. But I guess that it's whatever you're doing, whatever you're building, whatever way you're communicating or meeting people or getting people to especially part of money, you're going to get someone trying to scam it. Yeah. I think with QR codes, because it's just directing you to a website, it's one step in a longer process. And I guess from my point with the hotels and the restaurants, it's not such an issue, because it'll be quite obvious if instead of sending you to a review form, it sends you to a form that says, give us your Revolut details there, please, or whatever it is. But yeah, it doesn't help, that kind of stuff. And I guess even more of a kind of a black box for people, literally and figuratively sometimes, is the kind of the NFC, the near field communication contact.
That scares the shit out of people. That one scares the living shit out of people, and it's hilarious. So Martin, one of the other Goose guys, he's actually got a ring, It's called the Pago Pace, and it's an NFC ring. So instead of you basically using Google Pay on your phone or Apple Pay on your phone, you can just walk up to a credit card machine and go boing, tap
No
tap
way.
tap the ring and make the payment. Now, and about 18 months ago, I had a brainwave, and thank God I didn't go through with it because it would have been a bad stupid. And you could actually get these like little chips that you could put in here in your hand, NFC chips. So then you could actually like change like the lock on your door and stuff like that, and it would just open to just me. And I thought that was really, really cool, but thank God I didn't follow through with it. And even
Jeez,
my business cards, my own business cards today are NFC business cards. So it's tap, there's my contact information. And it works in two ways. One, because
yeah.
sustainability, environmental, I'm not printing off 100 business cards. I can tap and go. And there's also then that whole thing of, oh, you're the guy who had the touch card. That was kind of cool. And then you're in their kind of headspace for later. Like NFC is cool, but I think it's that idea of I'm scanning what to do what now, and I think people kind of break up and go, oh, I don't like that. That's just all my information.
A bridge too far.
Yeah, that's all my information on a touch. And like, yeah,
It's
let's
mad.
not talk about that. Let's not talk about the chip I nearly got.
I mean, this is the very like is it the Borg in Star Trek where you're being partially assimilated there, but it is mad. Like I remember the first time I saw it, and someone said, "Yeah, tap your phone off that." And I was genuinely like that, kind of confused and really like bemused by the fact that this thing actually worked. And I was like, "Well, where's the battery? How does it connect to the Wi-Fi?" And like the fact that it generates its own like electricity using the magnetic wave from your phone. It's such a clever piece of technology. I love it now, but I remember when I saw it, it was kind of a little bit scary. But yeah, I love the tappy tag, because I remember I think yours was the first one that I tapped, and like the fact that it has everything there, because the amount of times you get a business card or a load of business cards and you come home and you're going, oh, I've got to fucking type this up now or scan it into ChatGPT or whatever. But the fact that it's all there live, it's just beautiful.
Saving God. Actually, yeah, you mentioned Tappy Tag there. They were actually on the podcast earlier this year. Really good guys, and kind of their whole shtick is environmentally friendly. Cutting down on waste paper and stuff like this.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's so handy, because I think where I like when I started using the NFC stuff, it was more for the to kind of tap here to leave a review on Google, the ones that'd be at the desks.
Yeah.
So for me, if you're at your in your hotel or in your restaurant, the QR code is grand because you have the phone out. But if you want someone to do something quite quickly, then being able to just tap it is a much more useful way. And it kind of
it works for any kind of service, any kind of, I suppose, like what's the non-technical wording here? Anywhere where people do things in return for money. Like if you're going to a barber shop, if you're going to a hairdresser's, a nail salon, anywhere where it's like a service in exchange, like you're not buying clothes, you're not buying t-shirts, where it's that kind of, it's a service. It's a service. Like I really think your product makes a fuckload of sense to me, because I can see this kind of like well beyond hotels and restaurants, because I know there's plenty of barbers where they'd be like to the to guys going, we'll give you 10% off your next chop if you make sure you leave us a review. That kind of way, and
yes,
you can kind of link in that kind of loyalty vibe of going, well, I've been chopping your hair for the last 8 years, mate. Give me 2 minutes, leave us a review.
Yeah, the loyalty angle is something that I'm looking at the moment. Actually, it's more for kind of the cafes and restaurants, because the way you've got like, the days when I used to have a wallet, we kind of stuffed with these half-filled loyalty cards, 3 or 4 from the same maybe cafe with four dots. I'm going, fuck, I went to blend them together. But the loyalty aspect of it is kind of a no-brainer as well. There's another crowd. Squid do a lot on that, and I think it's all NFC as well, which is very clever. Like the uses for it is just it's just endless.
It's so very like the variety of like. Because I've seen kind of similar to what you said about in the hotel. Sometimes you get this little plastic card with a sticker on it, and I've seen them in kind of couple of barbershops. But like, it's a really bad experience, because it's just like bringing you to like a Google review page, and you feel like you're kind of being forced to just give a positive feedback, or you go into like the amount of poor design that's in the background. I've been to a couple of restaurants, scan the QR code, and be like, they're trying to zoom in and be like, I have no idea what's on your menu because you're after giving me this 8-page folder that is all on one giant document, and it's like,
it wouldn't fit on a cinema screen, like, but I'm trying to watch it on my hand.
And they're trying to zoom in, going like, what am I going to eat here now? And now I'm stressed, and now I'm already hungry. Now that this is not helping my day. Like, fucking.
I think the pressure on people to give the public reviews is an interesting one. I was chatting to a restaurant today, and chatting to the owner, and I was saying, how'd you get your public reviews? And he was chatting about it. He was kind of a little bit aggrieved about something, and I was trying to whittle it out. And he was saying that the other restaurants in his town, one in particular, had jumped up the rankings on, I think, I know it's Google or TripAdvisor from like 30 to 1. Yeah. And he said that when you go into the reviews, every one of them mentions one of the servers in the restaurant. And the shtick is that the servers are being encouraged to talk to the guests or talk to the customers while they're there and say, will you leave me a review? If you leave my name there, I get a bit of kudos from my boss. So like it's like, it's not quite corruption, but it's a very different way of gathering it.
Look, I worked in behind the counter in stores for a very, very long time. We would always be told to ask, like, Joe. So, like, for example, I'll use my car fund as an example because we'd get paid. This is how we got paid. Here's a little. They're closed as a company, so nobody's going to come after me. We'd sell a phone and be like, right, did you sell an add-on like a car charger, like a phone holder? Did you sell like a screen protector? Cool. Did they insure the phone? Did you even mention insurance? Cool. Now we've got the product stuff off the way. Did you ask him how, Joe? You might get a text message later with some feedback, but like if you want, it'll be about today. If you actually like to, Joe. You don't have to obviously respond if you don't want to, but I'd really appreciate if you left me a good review, because if I get a high, if you leave me nice comments, that bumps up my customer service score, which then that means that unlocks my payment. So if we hit all our sales targets, but I had a customer score rating of like under 60%, you didn't get your bonuses.
Wow.
Because you could be a shitty seller and be you're not buying that because I said so. So that kind of way, it would almost be incentivized to make sure that customers had a positive experience. So we'd always be told, ask, especially if you had a customer who you knew you had a good rapport with. Like, I'd really appreciate it if you do get the text message later. If you took 2 minutes, fill out that form for me, it would really help me. And if I have the higher kind of score I get, the easier it is for me to get paid later. And then they're kind of,
it makes a lot of sense.
And they're kind of like, oh, fucking Jesus. Yeah, not a bother. Yeah, if I get the text message, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way of doing that where it's not a hard ask. It'd be like, I'd really appreciate it. It would be a favor to me.
That's a bit different, yeah. But that makes
hovering
it
over someone's table when they're eating their eggs going, you like your service?
Wait till you get the tip first, and then kind of put the knife in the back for the review.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think there's ways of doing things. Like that. Look, that's always just going to be human behavior issue. Do you know what I mean? You can't change some people just being like. You've definitely had experiences in customer service and sales and stuff like that where someone's just being pushy, and you don't know why exactly they're being pushy, but the chances are it's because there's a paycheck the other end of it.
Yeah. There's a KPI linked to your feedback and your score.
Exactly.
It's just the way of the world, isn't it? It's quite cruel. Yeah, but I suppose. For hotels, they've got they can't really have someone breathing down the necks of their guests like that. So it's kind of a different ball game. Yeah. But you can only give the good service and hope that they leave you something at the end of it besides just the 80 page survey, which nobody fills.
So it kind of interesting. Like, what would and I left you a note card or token? What does it look like? Like, are they kind of like stickers? Are they like a wooden plate?
It can vary. It can vary. You usually in the hotel rooms it'll be maybe those little plastic tents. I should have one here. Plastic tent with the QR code and kind of bespoke message on it. In the restaurants, we've got the kind of the metal ones that are stuck onto the table. We've kind of had a load of fun sourcing those. And then for the restaurants as well, we got, like, we've just started doing the NFC ones, which is like a circular disc. But same thing is stuck on with a picture of somebody scanning their phone. But it's funny, like, depending on where we are, like speaking to hotels that are, if they've got, say, I don't want to be generous, but maybe an older clientele, they don't want to hear about NFC. They kind of, the QR is almost a stretch for them. So kind of when I started to really kind of think about, well, where do we want to target? Which hotels are we going to look at? And that was an education in itself. And then you've got the kind of, there's the kind of the hotels that might be 1 or 2 star. They don't really.
They don't want to know.
I didn't want to say it.
They don't want to. Does your local travel lodge want to be reviewed? And fuck no. I suppose they're usually budget hotels as well, so they don't. In fairness, they probably don't have the budget for this extra tech as well. They're sitting there going, "Well, what did you expect?" It's like Ryanair asking for customer service. Like they're just sitting there going, like, you paid a tenner. Like, what the fuck did you expect? Like, we're not the Ritz. Like, if you could have some way of kind of prorating the NPS score with how much you paid for your flight, maybe that'd give you a better idea. But fully enough, hostels, we've had a couple of hostels that are interested. I think that makes sense, because that's a cult, that's the beautiful cultural thing of, there's communal kind of spaces. They're more kind of hoppy and vibey. And normally it's become more self-service. So I think as long as the functionalities are there, people will be like, yeah, I had a lovely stay. I met some cool people. There was somebody there who was able to direct me to the best bars locally, and then they minded me when I got home hammered. Tick, tick, tick.
That's what you want. Yeah, it's a totally different kind of a vibe and a totally different game. But I didn't expect. I thought that because of the budget reasons, they wouldn't really care about the feedback system either. But that's
probably exactly why they do.
Yes, yeah, it kind of swings to the other side somehow. It's because it's contentless. They might have only one person on staff for the whole night. So I'm curious to see how they will get on with, because in the hotels you've got your duty manager, which can fix stuff instantly.
You've got security, you've got your porters, you've got even at night you've probably got 20 to 30 staff in a hotel, in an average hotel. But in a hostel you've got one kind of sleepy dude.
Always at least one.
Yeah, a little sleepy in the court. Just tells her in the second press.
Yeah, maybe from German, maybe a Dutch guy or a German guy, just to totally stereotype. And I suppose maybe that'll feel like the customers might feel that they're just kind of screaming into a hole. But I think even at that, like, I wouldn't advise anyone to experiment with it. Even at that, if you had the feedback system and just didn't even have it hooked up, I think the customers knowing that their voice or feeling that their voice is being heard is such an important thing, because
that's the point.
That's another little angle to this, is that if you leave a bit of feedback privately, even if you never hear it back and nothing happens, at least you kind of go, well, I've said my piece, as opposed to walking out the hotel and kind of go, I haven't said my piece. Google, TripAdvisor, here we go. Yeah, let's get stuck in.
Let's go storm the fort. Like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, I definitely think there's something beautifully simple about this. Like, I think you see a lot, like, I suppose for clarity, we're in startup land here. Like, do you know what I mean? We're not, like, you're not 100 million company. Yes.
Not yet.
Someday soon. Like, you're only operation in the last year or so?
Last 8 months now and counting. Yeah. This.
But like, we've already got the fact that we're 8 months in, you've already got some customers on board, you're getting that feedback. It's kind of a case of, do you know what? Be probably a good thing to, do you know what? Explain to me kind of where this even started, kind of where you're at now. So let's go where you started, how this started, why it started, what's happening now, where we're at, and kind of what does this time next year look like for Steve and I left you a note.
Cool, yeah. So I guess it started out quite differently. This is a fairly random story, but I was out for a cycle maybe about 12 months ago and came across a dead cat on the road, fresh kill. Sorry again to any vegetarians or vegans or animal lovers. So I stopped the bike, picked up this poor cat. I love cats, and I couldn't find. First of all, I couldn't find the house where it might have been from, and then I found the house, but there was no one there, and I had no way of leaving a note. I had no pen and paper. I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm holding a dead cat in my hand, so I put the cat kind of at the side of the house and just hoped that they found it. But and then I was kind of slightly kind of going, geez, I wish there was some way I could have contacted those people. And then I thought the QR code. By the time I got home, I kind of had the idea of kind of a B2C version of it, which still exists. But it was more to kind of, have something on your front doorbell. Someone calls to your house, you're not there. They scan it and they leave you a message, or someone bangs into your car. They scan it and say, I crashed into your car. I'm not giving my insurance details, tough shit, whatever. Yeah. But, a suitcase as well. Anyway, so after a while, so I kind of lashed straight into that, and I made one of my favorite mistakes. So I did no customer research whatsoever. I did a big unpost mail out to a couple of thousand homes across Limerick. And there I was thinking, geez, this is great. A couple of these lads sign up now. I'm home and hosed. And I made the mistake that I've got an uncle, and he, when we were kids, I remember being in the house one day, and we were, my aunt, my uncle's wife, was giving out to him that hadn't caught any mice. There's mice in the house. And the kids ran around to have a look at the mouse traps, and in every mouse trap, he'd stuck a stuffed olive. And we're like, what the fuck's with the olives? And he reckoned because he loved stuffed olives, he thought the mice would love stuffed olives. So that came into my head when I was looking back over this thing. I was like, I really would love a way to contact people or be contacted, but that was my olive in the mouse trap. And then I kind of pivoted from that into where else do people need to get a bit of feedback? And I kind of ran through the list, and I was looking at waiting rooms was one, restaurants.
Doctor waiting rooms would be really good, actually. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Like you said, they're on. Do they really want to know? Do they want to listen? But yeah. So the waiting rooms. There was the kind of suitcases, cars. There was real estate agents, businesses where people might be calling. There's no one there. There was art galleries, things like that. And the one that kind of really kind of stuck out for me as maybe a commercially viable one was the the cafes and the restaurants. And then kind of launched into that, and kind of talked to a bunch of restaurant owners, and a good friend of mine here as a cafe as well was very helpful. And then started rolling that out on kind of pilot / free trial basis, and then that kind of turned into actual paying customers, which was super exciting. And then I kind of said, well, where do we go from the restaurants? Kind of fell into it. I was looking at a restaurant that was attached to a hotel. I was thinking, well, geez, there's so much more here that we could be using, that we could be tapping into. And that kind of put the hotels onto the radar. So it's like it's still developing on the fly, because I'm kind of built it all myself. But every day I'm kind of dedicating a little bit of time to developing it, because that's the fun part, is just getting stuck in and making stuff and seeing how it works. But it's a total black hole. I mean, at this stage, still better off doing the customer discovery, talking to potential clients and potential people for sales.
Yeah. Well, it's Joe. Anybody worth their sauce there's a constant feedback loop. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the reason why, like, personally, for me, the reason why, like, do you remember back in the early 2000s when there was like 18 different phone brands, and now suddenly there's like 4?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, back you could get Sharp, you could get a Motorola, you could get a Nokia, you could get a BlackBerry. Now it's Samsung, Sony, Xiaomi, Apple. There's 4, maybe 5 main players, and they trap them. But like, the reason why I think the likes of like Nokia didn't develop, like, they were like the last to the market with a smartphone, because they weren't asking their customers. They're like, sure, yeah, iPhones exist, but everybody's had these phones for donkey's years, and they love how the battery works. So that's the issue here.
And we had Snake. Snake was the game, wasn't it?
And then 2 years later, they're not a player in the game anymore after being the player in the game. Do you know what I mean? Apple just looked at them and went, okay, your game is over. Your game is over. Like, and then Nokia came out with a Windows phone, and God, I don't know if you ever looked at the Windows phone. It was the worst.
I saw it. I didn't have one, but I saw it in action, and it was quite impressive for the wrong reasons.
They didn't listen. They didn't iterate. They didn't try. So like, you're in, what was it, 4 or 5 restaurants or something at the moment, and you're getting that feedback from them, and then they're obviously going to give word of mouth to other people they know in that circle, and then this is how this stuff spreads, and it's going to change over time, and that's the whole point.
That's it exactly. And I suppose it's the benefit of being kind of new to it is that you're kind of super agile, aren't you? Because you can, if something doesn't work, fucking shelve it, go on to something else. Something else that's getting a bit interesting, you can kind of dedicate your time to that too. Yeah, it's mad. Like there was, I can't say a name, but there's a chain, a kind of a catering company at the moment. I'll tell you later.
Yeah. I know a guy. That's, oh god, that seems to be my lifeline. It's like, I know a guy. Oh, I'm that guy. Shit. Anyway.
So they're trialing it in one place, but then it's funny because we were both chatting to, I think it was Alan. He was saying, someone asked him for his enterprise pricing. I was like, hang out the phone. What's our enterprise pricing? So I kind of, funnily enough, kind of approaching that same part as well, where you're kind of faking it till you make it a little bit, but you're just kind of, you're building it as the plane is flying. What's that expression about building the plane as it's flying or whatever? Anyway,
the point makes sense. It's like, there's no point. I think especially in this space, like, it's one of those, we're catering to what customers want to talk to hotels about, and we're catering to what hotels need to know, or cafes or restaurants. So it means that as more restaurants and cafes come on board, as more hotels come on board, and the day a chain comes on board, like, these are all going to be dominoes that knock one after the other. And it's like,
that's the plan.
A chain is going to need something different to, like, your boutique hotel, your Starbucks chain cafe is going to need something different to, like, Chill the Beans, which is, smaller local ownership. And
exactly,
it's
that's where the fun is, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it depends. Wouldn't you love to do the Steve Jobs approach and go, this is what you're getting, shut your mouth and take it?
It's so beautiful in theory to be able to do that, isn't it? Just kind of go, I built a product, no one knows that they need it yet, but they're gonna fucking love it, and they're gonna pay me a lot of money for it.
Yeah, it's just even that ego thing of, you think you don't want to. Yeah, we'll see.
Come back to me.
No.
You're going to want it. You're going to pay what I tell you. You're going to pay for it as well. That's
one of my favorite lines. I love the Irish kind of startup space. I love the kind of ecosystem that we have here at the moment. Like, Ireland, I think people don't understand, like, the history of innovation that's actually here. Like, the humble cream cracker was invented in Ireland. Hypodermic needles, submarines.
I didn't know that. Submarines, I do submarines, yeah.
I have submarine was a dude from Liscannor. The hypodermic needle whiskey.
Blind Boy did a podcast on that. I think it was. We went through the history of the submarine. It was sorry, go on. But hypodermic needles, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was Carlo.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of innovation. Even Henry Ford is a second-generation Irish immigrant, and his vibe was, why would the car? It's like, but wait. But if I ask them, they just say, I want a faster horse or more horses, and now I made something better. And I think you're kind of, like, what's very fun in the Irish kind of tech space is that's not how we do things. It's work to what your customers want, which is why I think the fail rate in America is so high. For starters, it's a lot easier to get funding. Yeah, it's a lot easier to get backing, because I think the American approach is, hello, I'm here and you'll believe me. Whereas in Ireland, it's like, what's your source? Talk to me. I'm not going to know who you're talking to. And I think the success rate in Ireland is a lot higher. And that's why we have such a healthy hotbed of tech startups. I think here in Portugal are kind of the two European hothouses in the tech space at the moment. And it's really cool to see. Like,
it makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, like, in fairness, the atmosphere is so conducive to it as well. You've got so many supports, like Enterprise Ireland, obviously, and the BICs and all that. It seems like when I talk to the buddy of mine doing something, not in my space, but
Mary in the New Frontiers. But
shout out to Mary, yes, indeed. But does the buddy of mine do something in the UK, and he's trying to get it off the ground, and like I don't think he likes talking to me anymore, because when I talk about the kind of supports, the resources,
I
the
read
research
the other day, it's like, You rang who? Especially, actually, the UK increased their corporation tax, actually, was it last week? Or capital gains or something like that. One of the taxes to do with startups and founders actually went up to like 39% in the last like week or so. And
Shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, this is the thing, the amount of content I've seen even over the last 2 weeks from founders and startups going, you've killed me.
Yeah.
Because everybody talks about what's your exit, and now in the UK, what's the point? Because now I'm
I don't even have an entry, let alone an exit.
Yeah, it's
it's nuts. Because you mentioned the Leos. The Leos was my first kind of point of contact with some kind of supports back a few years back, and I was just blown away. Like, and the fact that every county, or I think Dublin has a couple of them, has their own like dedicated team of people, and their only raison d'etre is to help you and to help you get set up. It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I hope we can do them justice now. That's the next thing.
That's our plan, isn't it? You know, I just think it's really, like, I think the fact that like we do have that kind of thing, like the Irish government is a shit show. Like, if we're going to be honest about it, it is what it is. But the one place I will give them some form of credit is that there is an active ideology of, we have a really talented, smart workforce, one of the smartest probably that is around, and Apple can pull out tomorrow. Google can pull out tomorrow. Facebook can pull out tomorrow. What happens to that vacuum of talent if that ever happens? So by promoting, companies like what we're all up to and trying to kind of get our own businesses off the ground, it's right. These create jobs for these talented people.
That's it.
It's keeping that, like, Ireland's got one of the best workforces because there's an ethos of hard work in the Irish kind of culture. There's a high education level, which is probably not the same as everywhere. In terms of, obviously, corporation tax, this, that, and the other, will it's decent in comparison to other parts in Europe. And it's like, what? Like, we've seen everything that happened with Apple over the last couple of weeks. It's like, what's the move? What are we doing with that money? Can we go build houses, or are you just going to pocket that and build a bike shed?
Yeah, 2 by 2. You get 2 for that price now. In fairness,
I'm telling you.
Which, I mean, I remember reading a very interesting stat about. Do you remember there about? Geez, was it might have even been during COVID? There was a couple of tech companies closed down or downsized, and there was a lot of redundancies, and the amount of those people that went in to form their own companies, and then obviously there's a success rate and a failure rate, but the amount of jobs that they created was a multiple. I think it was like 2.5 times of the amount of jobs that was lost from these huge multinationals closing down. So
there's something beautiful a smart fucker with a chip on the shoulder can do.
Absolutely right. Yeah, chip, it's no pun intended.
You fired me. Watch, sit back and watch. This is your problem now.
Yeah.
And then you look at, like, because like I know people who got like let go from Shopify and stuff. So during COVID, they obviously ramped up operations and hired like 3 years worth of staff in the first 12 months because they're like, this bubble's not going to burst. And then retail reopened, and it's like, oh no, we didn't foresee this.
Bye. Yeah, Jesus.
Thank them all. And then you've got these super smart people who were looking at a company like that, going, okay, you think I was the one you should have got rid of? Watch what I do now. I think. Joe, again, that's probably an Irish attitude. It's like, I'm not going to roll over and die for you.
No, I think as well, as a nation, we kind of like doing hard things. I've no basis behind this besides my own anecdotal evidence, but I mean, we do, like, we tend to just go out and do crazy shit because we just like doing it. Like for a small nation, the amount of stuff that we achieve per population versus other countries. And again, I've nothing to back this up. I'm only going on sentiment.
No, but I think I can see it in a lot of people. Like, I obviously am involved in a football team. We have one of the lads who's a plumber. This time last year, he was a 1-man band. Now he's a 5-man band, and that was
sweet.
But like a couple of years ago, he was working for one of these big companies and was like let go because the construction company who owned them obviously was caught up in the boom bust shit, and he was like, cool, I'll go out my own. And then a couple of years on, now he's got a couple of people actually on his books, and he only did that. Like, he could have gone and got another job, but he was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going working for another one of these pricks who's going to do the same thing. And I think and I see that with, I know another guy who went out and opened his own barbershop. I know another guy who made his own coffee shop. Do you know?
there's a
It's
lot to
like,
be said for as well. Go back to the Irish mentality is not working for someone else is nice as well, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
there's a huge motivation there, being your own
and,
boss
and not at the
of
same stage. I think you can probably talk to me more about this. It's the like so like obviously you jumped onto the Enterprise Ireland New Frontiers program, and that's a big leap of faith because you're obviously walking away from your full-time employment to go, I now fully believe in me. I now fully believe in what I'm working on and what I'm doing enough to pack in a day job and go on
yeah.
chasing this. Like, I don't think everybody has that.
I know what you mean.
It takes it's a big move. Like, do you know what I mean? To go, I can just stay here, get my paycheck, be happy,
Yeah.
I'll pay my bills versus I need to try this.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, just like for me, I was, as I said, my background is worked as an actuary for about 20
What's an actuary?
odd. Kind of mainly works in risk. So you find a lot of actuaries in insurance companies, risk management, statistics, that sort of thing. So I mean, like at the start, the exams are kind of long and hard. So at the start of those, you're kind of looking at a lot of nice fancy maths and formulae and stuff like that. But then as you kind of progress through it, you kind of get more involved in risk managing for companies and making sure that they're not going to go insolvent, basically.
Yeah.
And it's a grand profession, and pays the bills. But it just for me personally, it just didn't have the same avenue for creativity, and
The heart wasn't there anymore.
The heart wasn't there, and you're kind of. You said earlier on, and it was exactly, you've got the itch to do something, and that was it. Then I said, look, fuck it. Kind of COVID came along as well, and like everyone kind of reassessed everything. I said, no, look, I've got a couple of things I want to do. Going to give them a good lash, and just make the move. Like what's the worst that could happen, So
if I need to go back to work this time next year and I screwed up, I fell flat on my face, at least I can stand there and go, I scratched the itch.
I give it a go. Exactly, yeah. Because like
I don't see that happening for you, to be honest. I think.
Likewise.
We'll talk about that another day. So for those of you that don't know, outside of this, I do another thing. But like even like we're doing Goosed. Jesus, I think we're 11 years now down the track. But like we do this because we love it. Like, you know what I mean? Like all of us have things outside of this that we do. Now, we all love to go and take this full time. Yeah, but media work don't pay. So here we are. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it took us 9 years to get our first paid partnership. Like, now we have loads of like, contacts in terms of product reviews, people who work with us, this, that, and the other. But in terms of getting
cash in the bank,
it's a lot. Yeah. Like I have a box over there of headphones and like I have some weird stuff that I've reviewed down the years. And there's like a scrap box that I donate every once in a while, or like old phones and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But it's like, can I make money off of this? Probably not. So we do this out of pure like love for it. But if we can turn love into money, then what's it? You'll never work.
Isn't it?
What's the line? You'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do. Or
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's mad. Like I'm sure you're the same as well. Like you're working every hour God gives, but it doesn't feel like work. It's like we're playing a game. I say to someone, it's
in my case, I'm actually playing a game.
Life imitating art, or the other way around.
It's so funny.
It is fun. Like you get stuck into it. You go down so many wormholes, and you're just kind of going, geez, if I had a couple more hours to do this. But it's like I remember when I was younger, getting Grand Theft Auto. I don't know, maybe it was the first or second one, and Jesus, I loved it. And you could be playing it, and suddenly it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's how I feel about this stuff. It's just so much fun.
You look up from the laptop and go, I think on Saturday I must have done a 14-hour day. Now I did nothing. It turns out, like when I was looking back at the finish, like, is this all I got done? And you're like,
I know the feeling, but I bet you if you'd actually
you zone out and you're just in it, and it's like fucking yes, let's go.
That's it. But if you'd written down things on that course that day, I bet you'd have a list of 20 things that you got done. But by the end of it, you can't even remember because you're like, what was I doing in the last 5 minutes? That's all I did. Jesus, what a waste of a day.
I made a picture and I posted it to Instagram, but I took 20 minutes to make the picture, and then another 10 minutes of staring at it and going, "There's something wrong here. I don't know what it is," and then just
It's upside down.
Okay, post it, and then it's like that was an hour of the day absolutely burned. That could have been just a 10-minute job of just go.
But as well, that's part of the fun, is it? Because for me, every day is a school day. Every day, what you're doing is something you haven't done before. So it's like, okay, there's going to come a time. Surely there has to come a time when it's like, okay, I've to do this. I've done this 10 times before. It's going to take me 2 minutes. As opposed to I have to do this. Jesus, that's going to take me an hour of research, another hour of trying to do the part that I can't do, and another hour of kind of cringing over it and going, geez, I did that all wrong, and starting it again. But yeah, it's all part of the fun.
Go again, constantly going again. But I know it is like, so I suppose I have one more question, and then I'm going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your goddamn day. So the question is, what is the plan for where we're going to be this time next year? Like what talk to me about future I left you a note. Where are we going?
So future Stephen, and future I left you a note. In about a year, the plan is to have about between 30 and 40 fully signed up, paid up hotels on the proper commercial release, if you know what I mean, because it's good, but it's still an MVP. And then the plan is to have maybe about 100 to 120 restaurants on as well. And then I guess we're I kind of jumping the gun. It's always the way, isn't it? But I kind of looking at the UK and the US markets then as well. So because when you start looking at the kind of big plans, big plans, big fails maybe. But I suppose when I'm looking at the hotels, especially, you're kind of looking, well, that hotel is part of this group, and this group is a part of that chain, and suddenly you're looking at, you know, some big global thing. Obviously, very hard to tap into, but it kind of gets the mind thinking anyway. So yeah, so try and kind of box off as much as we can in the Irish market, because I mean, there's 850 hotels. Of that, we're probably going to capture maybe 100 to 150 overall. So there's going to come a point where we ramp up, then the kind of plateaus, and then the new entrants start tapering off a bit. So we need to kind of future-proof, or whatever the word is, and start looking at more fields, more horizons.
I love it. Like, I think, do you know what I mean? Like, this is so. Do you know what I like about it is it's flexible, it's obvious, it actually solves a problem. And like, I'm very much the type that I never go and complain to someone because I'm scared. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just not.
It's like, confrontation. Yeah. I'd the same.
If it's confrontation in a field I'm comfortable with, it's like, yeah, I will scream at the face of someone on a football pitch. I can do that. I can sit there in an office meeting and be absolutely rinsed through and go, cool. But yeah, put me in a restaurant and my potatoes are cold. It's like, could someone? Someone tell them that.
And I didn't even order potatoes. I hate potatoes.
Yeah. It's so true.
I just wanted a pint of Murphy's. What the fuck?
How the fuck did I get a potato here? I ordered a pint. It's like, oh, they just said you're Irish, so just give them a potato.
It's grand. Nothing at all to complain about there. Jesus, the list goes on.
Come here. Is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you feel that we need to mention about it? If you know where you're coming from, where you're going with, is
the one thing I just thought of there, I should have mentioned, was like we haven't built this in yet or released this yet, but one thing we're working at is the kind of AI side. So obviously AI is a buzzword. AI means success. It's a total minefield. But I suppose that's one thing we're looking at now for the next 12-month horizon, is to bake that in properly and in a stable way. That's the most freaking important word, so that the hotels and restaurants can kind of get better analytics and get their reporting, because, you know, for groups of restaurants, the people essentially aren't going to want to read 300 sticks of feedback. They want to read one nice summary on a page that gives them all the info. So that's on the horizon as well. Yeah, keep it simple.
Steve, you know what? This has been fun. I've enjoyed this.
I've really enjoyed it too. Thanks a million, John. I really appreciate you having me on.
Anytime. I think we're going to have to do a chase up next year and see have we done what we said we were going to do. I'm holding you to these. No. You know what?
Good man,
Anybody
be
wants
honest.
to reach out, if anybody wants to find I Left You a Note, find out more about the product. If anybody knows of people with cafes, hotels, well, who knows who owns hotels? But you know, if you know someone who owns a local coffee shop, owns someone who owns a local, sandwich shop or cafe or something like that, how do they contact you or I Left Your Note? Basically, how do people talk to you?
So the best way is if they hit me up. God, I sound like I'm 20. I left you a note.com/restaurants. That's probably the easiest way. You can find me on LinkedIn as well or wherever, but that's probably the handiest. I left you note.com/restaurants. That'll get me through. But yeah, I mean, good pointer, John. I hadn't thought of that. The kind of call to action, if people know restaurants, hotels, like for the hotels, we're still looking for more pilots. For the restaurants, we're still keen to get more experience. So we're throwing like free trials away and all sorts of gimmicks and gadgets and hardware. So yeah, that'd be great. Thanks a million, John. I hadn't thought of that. Sound.
No, it's literally, I really think anybody who's listening to this, anybody who's so here I'm going to do my plug part. We're obviously live on YouTube. The video and audio are available on Spotify, and the podcast is available on every good podcasting platform, not on the bad ones, because bold. Goose, we are available on every single social channel apart from X, because we don't like that place. It's a dark and scary abyss of the worst of the internet. But we're on every other internet platform as Goosed.ie. So if you do see the podcast and you do know anybody that's in those kind of fields, cafe owners, sandwich shop owners, people who own a local sweet shop, whatever it might be, and you think, do you know what they'd love? Customer reviews that will bump them up the Google rankings, because this is going to help people find their business, get them to reach out to Steve. Now, whether he's still doing pilots at that time, I don't know, but I think it's a really cool product. I think it's the kind of thing that's going to have a very cool future. So if you can get them on their early doors, and that they can be, the case study, they can be the early adopter, as we might say, I think it makes perfect sense. So comments, reach out to me, reach out to us on Goose, reach out to Steve on LinkedIn or directly on the website, because it's happening. So get on board early. And on that note, thanks everybody for listening to this podcast. Steve, I've had an awful lot of fun. Me
too. Thanks so much, Sean.
You said beforehand you were going to be nervous. How'd you feel now?
Anyone else I'd be nervous, but I should have factored in that it's you. So yeah, thanks a minute, John. You're great.
Anytime. And I will be catching back next year. So everybody who has listened and watched today, thank you. Good night, good morning, goodbye, good evening, good day. I don't know whenever the hell you're listening to your podcast. Have a good one, and we will see you later on today when we do another one